On That Dead Body Show, we talk about death and murder, and at times, we may use explicit language.
Welcome back to another episode of That Dead Body Show. I'm Douglas.
I'm Brandy. And I know nobody's name today.
So, at least she remembers mine. That's good, right? So it's been a busy week for us. It's about to get a lot busier for Brandy, at least. She's a postal carrier, and 'tis the season for giving and sending and returning and
sending a bunch of shit in boxes to people that I have to deliver. Okay, guys, for real though, it's been a really crazy week. So we've tried to record several times this week, and I've just been like brain dead, which is like most days, but way more. Since
we put out the last episode, I did get the tiers up on Patreon. If you guys want to become a patron, you can help with as little as $1 a month. Price of a cup of coffee. No. For as little as, we do have tiers starting at $1. You can visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/thatdadbodyshow. That's Patreon with an E, patreon.com/thatdeadbodyshow. No spaces.
I know that Ashley has already seen the tiers and was excited because she wanted to be a prep.
A perp, yeah.
I think I was working when she posted that, and I was like, you want to be a prep? Right. What the fuck?
Because she likes stickers, and that's
yes.
the sticker tier.
Yes, but it was just, when you're working.
There's also a t-shirt tier, and we've got a lot of cute designs, a lot of really nice shirt designs over at our TeePublic page.
That Ashley got one, and she's not sent us a picture yet, so Ashley.
If you'll send us in a picture, we will post it on our social media with your t-shirt, sticker, what have you.
I think she got it That Dead Body Show because we had not put Goth Hippie up yet.
Right. We will post links to our TeePublic page on our social media. This week we're going to cover Jerome, jerry-brudos.
That name just does not... Jerry fits him. Jerome does not fit him. Okay.
Known as the shoe-fetish slayer and the lust killer. Which actually, technically, he is a lust killer.
He is, but...
I mean, when you look at the
yes.
categorizations of different types of killers, he's a lust killer, but he's also called the lust killer because he did some crazy things. He murdered several women in the late 60s in the Salem, Oregon area.
Yeah,
it's like a suburb of Salem, but...
Yeah, I think I know a couple he kind of drove away from, to get, but yeah, mostly Salem.
So we're going to cue those creepy kids, and we'll be right back.
We are dead.
Jerome Henry Brudos was a serial killer and necrophile who murdered several women in the late 60s in Salem, Oregon.
He was also an ephebophile?
What's that? Somebody who likes dead feet?
No. Well, he was that too, but he had someone who likes children in the post-puberty age. 15, 16 years old, I believe. Yeah. He was also a retifist. Someone who likes feet. It's named after a dead French guy.
Would you care to say his name? Because I'm not going to butcher it.
It's Nicolas Edmer Retif. Yes. He was also known as Retif de la Bretonne. He was a novelist in the late I think he died in the early 1800s.
I mean, so this shit was named after him.
I think he liked feet. Of course, I mean, it was France in the late 1700s, so there were a lot of crazy things going on there.
Well, so we know he was a serial murderer who liked feet and, dead feet, but how did we get there?
I guess it's time for a crime rewind.
Okay, so as we previously stated, jerry-brudos, who went by Jerry, was a serial killer. He was born in South Dakota around 1939, and
Well, no, 1939.
yeah, I don't know why I said around there.
He was born last day of January, 1939.
He seems to, maybe that's why he started in January. Anyway,
Maybe. His mother, he was the second born. He had an older brother. His mother wanted a girl, and she hated him for not being a girl.
so you're a guy, obviously. I say that a lot, but you're a guy.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I know that's a big thing, especially back then, for a dad to have a son first. So I'm assuming, because everything that we read and watched said that she would love the first son. What was it, Larry?
Yeah.
Like, she just loved him, and he was fucking perfect. But she disliked Jerry and wanted a girl. So was she okay with Larry because that gave the dad the first son, or the male child? I mean, I know to you it didn't matter, but, like, I know that that's a thing for some guys. They want the son first.
Right. Whatever. Right. So they moved around a lot. I believe the dad may have been an alcoholic, but he was a tradesman of some sort and moved around for work throughout the West Coast area, actually. I guess Oregon, California.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to say from the description of the wife and Jerry's mother, I probably would have been an alcoholic too.
Well, I mean, it was also pre-World War II. I think we were still feeling the recession or the depression.
That was what, in like 28,
20,
the Great
29,
Depression?
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that was still really real to them. I mean,
So one day when Jerry's 5 years old, he is at a landfill. Not real sure. It's 1944. Nazis are everywhere. It's the middle of World War II. Everybody, there's the Nazi scare. Why would you let your kid play in a landfill? A 5-year-old kid.
I mean, my guess is, because obviously it never tells where, in relation to the house, this was. How,
Yeah, I guess it could be they live next to a junkyard, whatever.
I mean, maybe he's with Larry and they took a walk. I mean, I don't know.
Jerry finds a pair of, I believe they were described as patent leather high heels. These high heel shoes he wore home, which his mother freaked out about. Which, if she wanted a girl, I'm not real sure. I guess it was a whole gender role thing, but she took the shoes from him, told him that was not appropriate or whatever. I think she felt like maybe he was mocking her. You wanted a girl? Well, now I'm a girl. I mean, he may have said that.
I was going to say, he might have said that. We don't know, obviously.
Right.
We have no way of knowing.
So,
there's a very good chance he did.
He told her he would throw the shoes away, and he didn't. He kept the shoes hidden, as young boys are apt to keep things hidden from their parents. I'm looking at you, son.
Yo, you.
They keep things hidden from their parents. He hides the shoes, but she finds them. I guess she catches him with them again, or whatever.
Yeah, she sees him with him, and she flips out and burns him right in front of him.
So she burns him, and this is probably the start of his actual problems. Had it been maybe handled in a different way, he might not have come out the way he did.
I mean, you've got somebody who's yelling at you that it's wrong, and that's kind of like, I've said to you multiple times, in the 8,000 years we've been together, it's like when you put a Snicker bar on a table and tell a kid they can't have it. So now she's told him, you can't have these shoes. These shoes are bad. So,
like, if loving you is wrong, I don't want to be
right. And he wanted the fucking shoes. I mean, so because she made such a big deal about it, I mean, I fully suspect if she'd have just let him play with the shoes, he would have gotten over it. I think it sparked in his head.
But that didn't happen, and
here we are.
He, a few years later, they moved to California, and he actually gets caught trying to swipe teacher's shoes, a pair of his teacher's shoes. I mean, that's like, okay. So he gets caught, and the teacher gets angry, and of course he gets embarrassed because You just got caught trying to steal your teacher's shoes. What kind of freak are you, kid?
And I mean, it's not even like now where people have started a whole discussion about things like this. This is in like the 40s, the middle of the 40s.
Right.
Where I'm sure back then they probably still like beat you senseless. It was a mental disorder. I mean,
right.
Yeah. He went on to totally, completely bomb second grade. I think he stayed sick the whole freaking time, the whole year. And,
I wonder if he was really sick.
Well, it said that he had the measles and sore throats and swollen glands. So, I mean, I don't know how you can fake the measles. Now, the sore throats you can probably at least fake, but I don't know how he could really fake the measles.
But did the school get told that?
Or I don't know.
You know, it could be a case of like, oh,
right.
He's not really crippled. Get up out of the wheelchair.
Right.
Kill the mom.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, it never really says. It just says, in everything that I read and heard, that he just stayed sick that year. And that's when he started, though, complaining about the headaches.
He complained of migraine headaches so bad that he lost sight at times his entire life.
Right.
So, as a young prepubescent boy growing up, they move a couple more times, and he starts stealing girls' underwear off of clotheslines and
see, I mean, look, as creepy as that is, I still feel like that's still almost normal behavior.
I mean, it really is.
That's what I'm saying.
Inquisitive or whatever.
He wanted to see him, and he wanted to touch him, and he knew he couldn't do it at home.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying stealing is okay. I'm saying that
right.
I don't feel like that even.
Well, if he had a different way to obtain them, I'm sure he would.
Yeah.
So he, all throughout his childhood, he and Larry are, I believe, probably the why can't you be, compared, like, why can't you be like your brother Larry kind of thing. And he even at some points took the fall for Larry. And
with the naked girl pictures that
right.
Larry drew.
Larry became, as he was like 3 or 4 years older than Jerry. The Jerry Larry thing's killing me. Was their dad's name Harry? I mean, really?
I think it was.
Right. So,
Hold on, you keep talking. I'm going to check into that.
So, he's not mentioned a whole lot during any of it.
No, he's actually not.
I believe he worked two or three jobs at point, so he wasn't around a lot.
But I would like to
probably
know.
Also, I mean, let's face it, being raised by a single mom, I know that it's not a problem. But when that mother hates you,
it's a problem.
It would become a problem. I mean, not that my mom loved me. I mean, whatever.
No, but his mother.
But yes, right. So it became a
then
problem.
I can
for him.
attest to being with a single mother who hates you, and I know it's a problem.
Right.
Though I didn't grow up to steal underwear.
Thank God. My tidy whities are safe. So he starts going through puberty, and his overbearing mother, who quite possibly could be a template for the mother from the wall, shames him about anything having to do with sex. And of course, like you said, you can't have the Snicker.
Yeah. So not only is she shaming him, but he starts having like all kinds of fantasies, like dark fantasies and shit. And he's like, I could totally capture a girl and force her to do shit. And so he realizes he likes it. At this point, I don't even know, he's not talking to anybody about it, so I guess nobody would realize it, so who's he got to talk to? And they move again, yet again. So that can't be good for him. He's probably not making any connections with anybody, like friends,
Right.
Which I think is important at that age. Maybe not to have like best friends, but people you could go to school and at least be like feel comfortable with there. If you're not feeling comfortable anywhere at all, he probably didn't ever fit in anywhere.
So yeah, they moved to Corvallis, Oregon, which I believe is just outside of Salem, right?
I am not the geography.
Not sure. And he's studying. He becomes really intensely enthralled with electronics and just...
he does excel with that, though.
Right, but not much else. And he does continue his habit of stealing women's shoes and undergarments off of clotheslines, I guess, in the...
Can you even
50s
imagine
here.
if he had lived now? Because
Oh,
undergarments back then were
you can order Japanese undergarments online, I believe.
But I mean, I'm just saying
But,
though,
you
if
know,
he was
used,
digging
it's crazy
undergarments
weird
back then, now they're all hardly there. But back
Right.
then they were that's the bullet
granny
bras.
panties and
Yeah, that was
bullet
the bullet
bras.
bras.
So he's stealing the clothesline underwear and using them as a tossing agent, I guess we could call it.
As long as you don't bring salad into it, I'm good.
But then pretty soon that doesn't do it for him anymore.
So he decides he's going to get his neighbor. See, I want to know how close of a neighbor she was. I'm just curious because that would have to be awkward. But anyway, he gets his neighbor to come over, and he's like, "Hold on a second, you know."
I think he tells her, she's one of the ones whose undergarments have gone missing, and he says, "I think I can help you get them returned," and brings her to his house.
If I was her,
And he steps out of the room.
Yeah. I know he leaves the room and he makes up some reason why to leave the room.
And then all of a sudden,
bam! Yeah, so the masked man comes in and is like,
take off your
clothes. Yeah, so he takes pictures of her and then...
I'm totally not Jerry.
Right, yeah, literally. This is... What does the Wizard of Oz say? Pay no attention to the man behind it.
Right.
So, the masked man leaves, and then
After forcing her to take her clothes off and
take pictures. Yeah, he takes several pictures. And then Jerry comes back and he's like, "Oh my God, what happened? I was locked in the barn. This masked guy locked me in the barn."
It's almost like the whole, hold on, Commissioner.
Yeah.
I'll get Batman for you. Okay, Bruce.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
He walks out of the room.
I mean,
Batman comes in. Bruce passed me in the hall and told me to come in here.
Right.
So he comes in and says, "Oh, he locked me in the barn.
Yeah.
What happened?"
Yeah, and she's like, "Fuck this."
And she leaves.
Yeah, but she does not tell the police.
Yeah, I guess she's probably embarrassed. I mean, I would be. To be
Well,
that
I mean,
dumb.
if she... I was about to say, if she really bought the whole, "I know your shit's missing, I can help you get it back," and no, it wasn't me that did it, and you fell for that, yeah.
So he gets away with that, and it almost fuels him to try more and more things.
Well, I mean, wouldn't it fuel... it would fuel anybody.
I mean, I guess, it's one of those...
I got away
they'll
with that.
take a mile.
Yeah, I did it, I got away with it, and so let's try this. Let's see how much farther I can go.
So the next year, 1956, he lures a girl into his car and drove her to a deserted farmhouse, I guess. I'm
That's the way
thinking
it was
a little off
described.
of the road, I would think.
But it also said in both things that I read that the people were driving by.
Right.
So I don't
That's
know
what I
how-
was saying. So you would think it would be a little off the road. And he attacks this girl. He drives her to the deserted farmhouse and attacks her. But while he's doing this, a couple drives by and I guess they see his car maybe and get out and go, "What's going on there? We know
Right.
that's old John's barn. He knows,
Right.
he died 2 years ago."
Well, I mean, think about where we live. If people drive by and
right.
they see stuff going on,
Right.
they know who... I'm using air quotes currently. People know who's supposed to be in whose yard and why that vehicle is there. And
Right. So they're like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Someone attacked her and I was saving her."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Yeah. Okay."
yeah. Well, and so it says they went and called the police. And I honestly am so technology spoiled at this point. It took me a second to realize, what do you mean you went and called the police? Because I'm like,
Right.
why didn't you just pull out your phone? But this is 1956 and they probably had to go to the police. I mean...
So they go to Jerry and they question him and eventually he confesses, but they find all kinds of things in his house. Undergarments that, just like I guess his stash and photos and photography equipment, cameras and
I thought they found... Oh, no.
and on the photos they find pictures of the neighbor girl.
Yeah.
So they go to her and they ask her and she finally tells them, "Yeah, this is what happened." And
So
they commit him to the state mental institution.
So I'm wondering... I mean, now we have laws against having pictures of air quote children, and I'm not saying she wasn't a children,
She
but
was
I'm saying
a phebophile.
right. But I'm saying, like, were there laws back then against?
No.
So that they couldn't have charged him with that. Is what I'm asking.
Right.
I
There was
guess.
no child pornography laws in the 50s. I mean, really.
Well, no, I mean, I'm just asking because I know he got charged with assault and battery for the girl in the
That he
barn.
drove to the farmhouse.
But I just didn't know what he could have been charged with for her.
So he was diagnosed initially with an adjustment reaction of adolescence with sexual deviation and fetishism.
Which
So
could have covered
pretty
anything.
much a horny little boy
Yeah.
who liked weird things that aren't normal. Right, air quotes normal. And
Out of missionary.
this is the 50s. Pretty much anything outside of man, woman, man on top, woman on bottom,
There was
missionary
actually
position
probably
is the
laws,
sexual
too.
deviation.
I mean, there were
Right,
probably laws.
Right.
I figure. There's still laws here, aren't there?
So he was there at the hospital, but was allowed to attend high school outside the hospital. Like, we know you're a sexual deviant.
And we know that you're telling your psychiatrist that you want to imprison girls for sex.
In sex holes in the ground.
Yeah. But go to school.
Here, we're going to let you out during the day. We want you to go to school
You come back.
and come back.
We trust you, Jerry.
But he does that. And he graduates in, like, the lower, like, third of his class or something. But, I mean, he's also going home to the state mental institution every night.
Okay, so can you imagine that? Because in one of the documentaries I watched, it said that it was the actual one that One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest was based on.
Right. It was, yeah.
So it was like shit town, crazy town. Like,
Right.
So can you imagine going to school and then going back and maybe trying to do homework or have a normal, well, I'm going to say normal life, but I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, how are you going to study when you got somebody over in the corner screaming?
He did graduate high school while in the state mental institution and started some advanced technical college classes at Oregon State University and a local vocational technical school in Salem. He just didn't really care much for schooling, and eventually he just said, screw it, we'll go in the Army.
I mean, because see, I mean, you go into the Army and they're going to train you for, I mean, and he does go on to do electronics in the Army, does he not?
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, so screw school. But then you have school in the Army. I'm so confused. Like,
right, but it was electronic school, so it was something interesting to him, I'm guessing.
but he was in the technical vocational school for
True.
Bocek is what we called it in high school.
Right. So he's in the Army, and he, surprised, doesn't make it very far because of his sexual deviant thinking in late 50s.
Yeah, well, he told the psychiatrist that he was having a dream about a Korean girl who seduced him.
Well, this is the height of the Korean War.
Oh, well.
So he was obviously saying, I don't think I can make it out there. The Korean women are going to seduce me. So he gets the
okay, I wasn't thinking about
whatever the crazy discharge is.
I mean, that's literally what it is. I mean,
Because of his, air quotes, bizarre obsessions.
My ex-husband has a crazy discharge, as you call it. Literally is. I mean, it says it. With homicidal tendencies.
So he gets out of the Army, 4F or whatever they call it, I guess, and moves back home. Well, not really back home. He moves back to the shed behind the home.
Can you even imagine?
And he's there, 21-year-old, living in his parents' garage. And his obsessions are obviously still going on. One night he follows a girl from a store, follows her home, and strangles her until she's unconscious, like slaps her in a sleeper hold and steals her shoes.
You know about them sleeper holds.
Yeah. So he took the shoes home and probably used them again as a tossing agent. And slept with them.
But see, I'm wondering, okay, so this goes back to my whole Edmund Kemper argument. He was pretty much forced to go back and live with his mother. Like, is that what pushed him? Okay, so he's around 21 in 1960, and he finally gets his FCC license and gets a job at a radio station. And so while he's there, he meets his...
Not as a DJ.
Yes.
I can't see him, like, being the big bopper or whatever.
No. So while he's there, he actually meets his future wife, who some people have referred to as Darcy, and some people have referred to as...
Was it Ralphine?
Ralphine. I'm gonna go with, if my fucking name was Ralphine, I would go by Darcy too. I'm confused. I'm really not sure, like I said, but everywhere else, even in the court, they call her Darcy. So I'm gonna call her Darcy, because Ralphine is
She
just
was
not...
5 years younger than him. He was 22 at the time, and she was 17.
Darcy's parents were like, nah, man.
Well, I mean, I can imagine I would be that same way as well.
You were that same way.
Sure.
So, and of course, because we're going back to the Snicker bar thing, you know, they're like, no, Darcy. And she's like, yes, Mom. Yes, Dad.
And within a few months, they get married.
And a few months later, their daughter Megan is born. And from here until about, this is like 1962, they just move up and down the coast.
Well, like father, like son.
Right.
I mean, that's what he was used to.
And it might have made him feel better to not stick in one spot, you know? I mean, who knows? But he gets, you know, different jobs, and he's always in electronics in some shape, form, or fashion. And he finally chills in Portland and gets a job as an actual electrician.
And in 1967, his wife Darcy gets pregnant again. And we were talking about this. This is 1967, so I didn't even know that this was a thing back then. But he got saddened. He got rejected. She told him, "You can't be in the birthing room." Which I really thought this was a time of, like, dads sat out in the lobby smoking cigarettes.
I mean, this might have been on the cusp of it, though, because by then you had hippies and free love and fucking home births and shit. I don't know, maybe you didn't have home births, but, like, I mean, if he wanted to be in there, though, but see, this is also still in the point in time where wives went to bed with their makeup on and got up after the husband went to sleep and fucking took their makeup off, and then, you know, so they didn't ever see him, so she didn't want him to see that. So
whatever had been keeping the monster at bay, I guess, for the past few years here, 4 or 5 years, with, I guess, Darcy, just unleashed. She told him, "You can't be in the birthing room," and he went back to the shoes and drawers.
Yep, literally.
He followed a woman home one night and watched her go into her house, waited for her to fall asleep, and broke in to steal her shoes. But she woke up.
Right. So, I mean, I think this is the first actual rape where he might have tried to do it in the barn, and obviously he got busted, but there was nobody to save this person, and he rapes her and steals her shoes.
Choked her until she went limp.
Yeah, so they can't be fighting. Like, he doesn't want a fighty rape. He doesn't want, like, a lively rape, so to speak. He wants...
Which a lot of rapists do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he doesn't... Like, that's what a lot of them like. He wants them... Well, I mean...
So he slapped a sleeper hold on her, raped her, stole her shoes.
And was like, "Deuces, yo."
And he, of course, obviously didn't get caught again.
I mean, this is just killing me. Well, I mean, I guess if you're asleep and you woke up to somebody stealing your shit and then they choked you out, you might not really remember them. Right. But so, that really weird guy, you know.
I don't know that this really took a bearing in the story, but supposedly while he was working as an electrician, he took a fairly large shock. It was like
480 volts.
Yeah, that's about 4 times what you have in your house. Twice what you put on a washer, or what is it, a dryer?
Yeah, dryer uses 210.
Yeah, that's just two 110s joined.
Yeah.
Yeah. So think of 2 dryer plugs joined together, and so he took a fairly damaging shock, I would think.
Please don't make me laugh.
But it was shocking.
I knew you were gonna say.
And he didn't go to the hospital or anything, but
How the fuck do you not get
the fuck, dude? If I touch the dryer and it's not grounded, I might
I mean,
you
this
know,
is like Jason
like-
Voorhees shit. Like, you
Right.
get electrocuted and just keep going.
Right.
I mean,
So January of the next year, 1968, near the end of January.
on Nikki T's birthday. Not in 1968, but she was born on January 26th.
Right. Okay, good. Yeah, Nikki T's not that old, is she?
No, I think
didn't
I'm
think
older
so.
than her.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Hey, Nikki.
We owed.
Hey, Nikki T.
So, a girl comes door to door selling encyclopedias.
That used to be a thing, people.
Did you carry all of the fucking encyclopedias?
No, usually I'm almost positive they carried like the first volume or something, and you
I
got
mean,
that.
Because for some reason, I vaguely
Or
remember people coming.
encyclopedias also had these things called yearbooks that would
Maybe.
come out every year.
Yes.
And so yeah,
You
remember.
smarted your mouth off and you had to fucking copy that shit down.
Right. Go copy page 135 to 139 of 1972 yearbook.
And that smell
Right.
of the book. Anyway.
So a girl comes door to door selling encyclopedias, which just think of it as like a hard copy of the internet.
A very heavy.
Right. Multiple
Hard copy.
volumes.
Yeah.
And she's selling encyclopedias, and he convinces her to
Go to the garage. Well, he tells her to go to the garage. And I kind of have a theory on that. So he's got the two kids in the background. Or I said the background, but like in the house. And he was probably like, I'm never going to be able to hear you tell me about this. So like,
See, I was thinking something along the lines of like, how many volumes is it? Do you think it would fit on a shelf? Well, let me just show you the shelf. Come in here.
Maybe it was kind of a mix of both,
Right.
because let's be real, we've had kids, so we know that, they can get, as soon as you start doing something else, they want to get in the middle of it.
So he gets her to his workshop, which I believe is actually under the garage.
There's, what, some people,
And, okay, he hits her in the back of the head with a piece of wood.
a 2x4.
Yeah. Bam! Knocks her out. I guess maybe he's wasn't feeling the sleeper hold that day.
Ooh, yeah, I didn't think about that.
And then he strangled her to death. I guess he throttled her probably.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he, before he gets rid of her body, he, of course, strips her and, puts the undergarments in with his collection of all the other undergarments. But I'm sure these were special because these actually came off of the dead person instead of off of a clothesline. So these probably.
But he also tried on some of the undergarments he already had.
Yeah. He puts them on.
Quite a collection. He tries them on her dead body. And I believe one of the things says he sends the family out for fast food at this point.
Yeah, I think so.
So he sends them out for fast food, and while they're gone, he cuts off her left foot.
Right.
Right.
I
Post-mortem, I'm guessing. But, yeah.
It's like, okay, so I just killed this girl. And what? He goes inside and he's like, Darcy, Ralphine, take the kids for whatever the fuck is back
And then
there.
he's like, so they don't hear the saw or whatever. And then he cuts off her foot.
I want to know what he cut it off with. I want to know if it was a hacksaw.
And
we do know it was a hacksaw.
And puts it in a high heel shoe. And puts it in the freezer.
Well, you have to put it in there while it's still fresh.
Right.
Because once rigor sets in, you're not getting it in that shoe.
Right. But then you can, after its rigor setting, you can get it out of the shoe and get it in another shoe. So he tried it on a bunch of different shoes, I'm sure. And
I'm sorry, I'm just going to have a mental picture.
I'm sure there was some tossing agent usage going on there.
Bless this poor man's heart.
And he puts he keeps the body for a little bit and then puts it in the trunk of his car.
And he goes to the bridge and he fakes a flat tire. To have a reason.
Well, I mean,
But how do you fake a flat tire? What do you do?
If somebody shows up, you just finished.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
If someone doesn't show up, then you keep dumping the body that was in the trunk.
Wow.
So he dumps her into, I'm not sure the name of the river.
I think it was like the Lake Tom. No, it started with a W. Okay, we're old people.
He dumps her over the bridge. Doesn't matter. It's not really that important. He fakes flat tire, dumps her over the bridge, and
goes home.
Yeah. I guess waits for his wife and kids to come back with his fries.
Fucking weirdo. So, a couple months, 6 months later, and he's never actually, I don't think they ever find this girl, and I don't think he's actually for sure linked to her. But a girl named Stephanie Vicco goes missing.
About a dozen girls go missing during the time of
and they suspect that it's him.
Right. He only, I believe...
He only confessed to 4, and they only found 3. And they only found evidence on 3 of the 4 that he confessed to.
So that's July of 68. Stephanie Vicco goes missing in Portland. Right. And then another disappearance in November of that year, and he loves November. So
he loves the 26th, apparently.
Right. And November 26th of 68, a 23-year-old college student goes missing from the University of Oregon. Jan Susan Whitney. Yes. And things are pretty quiet there, I guess.
It doesn't, and I know that
it looks almost like he has where he's good for 3 or 4 months, 4 or 5.
He just can't deal with
somewhere between 4 and 6 months. He's good.
Yeah.
After he makes a kill.
So that would be the textbook definition of, his cooling off period, because he seems to go a few months at a time. So in March of 69, 19-year-old Karen Sprinkler goes missing, and I guess eyewitnesses are like, dude, it was a really large guy in drag that was in the parking garage.
Right. So, and it says she disappeared on the 20, she was disappeared sometime between the 27th and the 28th. I'm wondering if maybe she disappeared late the 26th. I'm just,
I'm wondering too, because they were all on most of them were on the 27th.
That's when she was reported no one saw her on the 27th.
Right. Yeah. But so her car was found abandoned and on the same day, or on the day that she went missing. So, we can only assume back then. We all got to remember that back then it was not like now where you can be like, oh, so and so's missing, ping your phone or find my location. There was none of that when somebody went missing back then. You had to hope that maybe they went to somebody's house and they might get in touch with you, later.
So, his wife, being 5 years younger than him, had until the birth of at least the birth of the second child. Yeah. Had been instructed by Jerry to only wear high heels, nothing else. Yeah. Around the house.
Cook, clean, and cook it, just period.
Yeah. And she could only come into certain areas of the house after she got permission from him.
Yeah, she had a buzz.
Right. He had an intercom system in his workshop or whatever, which that's not out of the way for the time period, being he was an electronics person. Mm-hmm. It's a push button speaker system.
Well, not only that, and I could actually see him getting away with this part of it too, because I could hear him saying, Darcy Ralphine, don't let those kids in there. I've got my electronic stuff out there. And that being his excuse to not let anybody out there.
So when the second child was born, she decided she didn't want them to see mommy only wearing high heels. High heels.
My brother used to call them heel highs.
Heel highs, yeah. And tells him no more. And that may have been what prompted the whole,
I can see that. If that's what was stopping him from doing it, actually seeing her dress, and he would take pictures of her while she went about her day or whatever.
But okay, so that happened in March 27th when Karen Sprinkler went missing. Right. Middle of March, end of March. It's almost like it's taking less. His cooling off period's getting to be less because in about a month later, in April, he at Portland State University.
He likes some parking garages.
He does like in a parking garage. I guess corners a woman and attacks her.
Yeah, she bit his finger until it bled.
And she bit him to get away,
but he beat her unconscious. He beat her up pretty good.
I guess she locked onto him like a pit bull until she's knocked out, still locked on his thumb. But someone drives into the parking garage and he runs off. Right.
Well, and it goes on to say that the police didn't connect it, but why would they connect it? Because other people didn't survive. There was nobody to be like, this is what happened to me. Right. So, they made a big deal about the police police failing to connect it, but, I don't see how they could have. Really.
So he didn't get the girl in the parking garage, so the next day, April 22nd, he goes after a younger girl. I guess he thought maybe this one won't fight as much. And goes after a 14-year-old Leanne Brumley.
Right. I mean, she escapes.
She escaped. I believe he was leading her to his car, and she calls out to a neighbor and screams.
Yeah.
And runs to them, and, I mean, what are you to do? You can't chase them down and kill them right there on, Elm Street. Well, I guess you can if you're Freddy. But.
I was about to say, I mean, the lady that was in the yard probably, she probably obviously later realized what she escaped, but, I mean, he could have.
Right. So, still no satisfaction.
So on the next day after that, Linda Dawn Saley, and it's been said like 80 million different ways, so if I'm saying it wrong, I'm sorry.
Sally.
So, yeah, it was said like, everybody said it different.
Sally.
Yeah. There was Saley, Sally, and there was still another one. Anyway,
disappeared.
So she goes missing, and her car is found in, a parking garage. And that's when they realize, now...
Hey, hold on a minute.
This shit keeps happening in parking garages.
Right, the parking garage bandito.
Yeah. He apparently posed as a police officer or a security guard to get her.
I believe that in one of the docudramas or whatever, it said that he caught her buying...
well, she had bought her boyfriend some presents. And
he called her outside the mall and was like, hey.
Yeah. He was like, well, we've had a lot of shoplifting recently. Let me check your receipt. You're going to need to come down and show your receipt.
And he puts her in the back of his car and drives her...
Straight to his house.
Into the garage.
Yeah. So, a few weeks later...
And chokes her out.
Right.
And kills her.
Yeah. We, of course, at this point in any of it, don't know all the grisly details. It's a hot mess. But a few weeks later, in May 10th, actually, Linda's body is found in the Longtime River, and her body is weighed down by a car transmission.
And so they're searching the area. They at this point believe they do have a serial killer. Yeah. So they're searching the area, and they find Karen Sprinkler's body.
50 feet away.
50 feet away.
And she was tied to an engine.
So I guess an engine block, maybe.
Yeah. So, yeah, it just says an old engine. But all of them were tied with what they called a special knot. Or not special.
It was a knot used to pull electrical wire
through the wall. But at the time, they didn't realize it. But they kept saying that it was a special knot.
Right. When they find Linda Saley, he has cut her breasts off and placed a bra. I figure probably something big. It's the late 60s at this point, but those new bras don't do it for him, I'm sure.
Right.
So he fills out the bra with brown paper towels because there's no breasts there because he kept them as a souvenir. Yeah, he shoved it in the hole.
Well, he also shoved it in the hole too to I think he did it to also stop some of the bleeding. So at this point, Jerry decides to start calling dorm rooms in order to try to get blind dates. So I'm really confused.
But he actually does get blind dates, so I guess it's a numbers game. Pickup lines work 1% of the time. I guess. But that one time.
So what is it like? Oh, can I speak to Cheryl? Oh, there's no Cheryl here. Oh, well, you're there. Is that like that?
I guess. Hey, what you doing, baby? Remember the breather on Elvira? That's what I'm picturing.
And y'all can't see my facial expression right now, but I am fucked up over here because I just can't picture back then.
He actually gets a couple of dates though.
Yeah.
But nothing happens. They only know about it because later on, some women recognize the description that the police give and go, hey, wait a minute.
What?
So he calls one of these girls back again for another date.
Right.
And
I really can't see the correlation on how this jumped. In anything I read, in anything that we saw, I don't see the correlation. It says that they checked his record, but he didn't have anything on his record, so it says...
Other than the girl taking the pictures, I'm sure that...
Oh, fuck, yeah, never mind. But that was so long ago, though. Right. So you've been a model fucking citizen since then, and now all of... maybe they were like...
So they decide to go and do some follow-up questioning at his home, and...
Yeah, so you were fucking crazy back then.
Remember the special knot? Well, it was tied in a rope that's just like one of the ones hanging in Jerry's workshop.
Right.
He almost thinks he's so smart that he's like putting it out there so they'll see it. And then he notices one of the cops looking at the rope and he's like,
"You want some of this rope?"
So the cop takes the rope and they make a comparison match, and that helps build their case.
I mean, I'm just wondering, like, why he thought that was a good fucking idea. I mean, did he not realize? I mean, maybe not, because back then I guess it wasn't talked about like it is now, like what we're doing. But I mean,
so yeah, at the end of May, they served him a warrant for the abduction of the little girl.
Yeah, she's like, she points him out.
She
grabs
identified him. Yeah, and they take him in for the interrogation, and
right.
he calls his
He
wife.
tries to. Well, before that, they actually try to kind of run. They
Right.
don't get very far, but they try to run.
He calls and tries to get his wife to destroy evidence, pretty much. To
Darcy Ralphine,
get rid of them box of panties in the garage.
I need you to go out there and get rid of the feet in the freezer.
Right. So
I'd be like, what the fuck? I'm sorry. I mean,
So
I've seen how they think these phone calls are going to go.
He hangs on for a day and confesses.
They didn't even know about Linda Slauson at all.
So he confesses to the two bodies they found.
Jan Whitney.
No, Linda Sully.
Oh, yeah. And then he confesses to Linda Sully and Karen Sprinkler, but then goes on to say...
I also killed Linda Slauson and Jan Whitney.
Yeah.
They never find the body of Linda Slauson.
Yeah, and I don't know that it ever mentioned them finding Whitney, but I guess they had to have.
So he pleads not guilty because reason of insanity. He says, I'm crazy.
I mean, one time he got told he was crazy, and look what all that happened.
Right.
So I would try that too.
So they test him, and he shows he has, fair high average to above average IQ.
Yeah.
And he's deemed not criminally insane. They diagnose him as having antisocial personality, manifested by, these were all in 1969, mental conditions. Manifested by fetishism, transvesticism, exhibitionism, voyeurism, and especially sadism. Those are categories on all, Plenty of Fish now or something, aren't they?
Probably.
I mean,
I feel like they are.
So he's diagnosed as having
snagged you before Plenty of Fish, so I can't tell you.
Right. So he's eventually charged with the 3 counts because they do have bodies on the Jan Whitney, Linda Sully, and Karen Sprinkler, or I believe they have pictures of...
That might have been it. Maybe they didn't find
I think
Whitney's
they
body.
have pictures of Jan Whitney.
Yeah.
That
When they
lead
go
them to
back...
believe that she's also dead.
Yeah, when they go back and actually get the search warrant and actually fully search the house, they find the pictures of the girls in various stages of alive,
And dress.
dead, way after dead, but it's all in his Craftsman tool chest. Like, he was proud of them. They were taped in there, the one officer said, or the detective said.
But he was not charged with the murder of Linda Slauson because her body wasn't
and there were no
recovered.
pictures.
And there were no pictures of her amongst the belongings.
Also, in some of the pictures was the picture that he put under the one girl and caught his own dumbass face.
He put a mirror so he could photograph her undercarriage, and was looking down into the mirror and snapped a picture of himself in the edge of the mirror.
That was under Sprinkler.
Right. As we said, 12 women went missing in his area during the time that he was free. They never found any of the bodies that they were able to connect to him. One neighbor, who it sounds really fishy, said that Darcy
Ralphine,
that Darcy was helping him get rid of a body from the garage, and they arraigned her and charged her with aiding and abetting first-degree murder of Karen Sprinkler,
But how did they know it was her? I mean, like, did they have Karen Sprinkler written on the fucking body bag they were carrying?
Well, I
I'm
guess
so
the time frame, maybe.
Oh, okay, maybe. Okay.
That's all I'm guessing.
You're right.
And she, of course, pleads not guilty. It says, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And they find her not guilty. Takes about a week. That's crazy. The whole entire arraignment.
Since he spilled his guts, I feel like if she helped, he would have been like, so Darcy Ralphine helped. I mean, he didn't hide anything. I mean, once he got to talking. So, Jerry was sentenced to 3 life terms.
3 life sentences because
there's
of
no
course
death penalty.
They didn't have the 4th body that he confessed to.
Right. So they were just like, we got you on 3.
And
You're not going anywhere.
And they don't have the death penalty in Oregon, so they gave him 3 life sentences.
I would assume, obviously, that was without parole, but nothing ever said that.
So soon after he goes to prison, I think it may last a year, Darcy divorces him. And
I don't even think it was a year, but...
And changes her name and gets a court order forbidding the children from seeing or contacting or calling or writing their father. He spends a pretty good rough time in prison. I think he probably gets used as a tossing agent. And
he got beat up.
He got beat up and hurt.
Badly. With other. It was listed as other.
Yeah. So he appealed and lost. And I think his last appeal was in 1977. He'd been in jail at that point for 8 years. Oh,
okay. So he actually did get...
he went up for parole. But
so that would have been not without parole. Then,
in 1999, after being in prison for 30 years, and they said, you're not getting paroled, and pretty much you're never getting paroled.
You do realize if he'd have been in Texas around this time, around this time was when Texas just started letting people out. It didn't matter what the fuck they did. They had that whole, letting people out. They had the overcrowding thing.
But he was in Oregon.
No, I know.
He sat there until he died.
Yes.
He sat there for 37 years.
He was the longest
serving prisoner in Oregon. He was in prison for longer than he was out of prison total.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah. And he died.
He deserved it, right, but it's...
He died in 2006 of natural causes. I believe he died of cancer. I want to say.
I'm almost positive it was cancer, but let's not quote that.
Right. So he died of natural causes. I mean, he was 67 years old. It's about time to go. I'll be going now.
Let's just hang this up. I'm done.
The whole cutting off people's feet and keeping them is just really weird. But that is why he was known as the shoe-fetish slayer. He was known as the lust killer because of his, I guess... the lustfulness of his acts, but
he wasn't lusting after the human. He was lusting after the shoes.
Right.
I guess. It was never really clear what he wanted more, to rape the human, but they had to be unconsciously dead.
I think it was the feet, because even now in prison, even then, when he was alive, he formed a library in his cell, a prison library.
Right.
And he had shoe catalogs, and yeah. So, all right, guys, that's the story of jerry-brudos, the shoe fetish slayer, the ephebophile, eretofist.
And no, that does not mean dead feet.
I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram by searching That Dead Body Show. See us on Twitter with the handle @TDBS Podcast. And I've been having some of the shows posted over on YouTube. You can check us out over there and subscribe. Click the bell. Like, please.
I do want to say thank you for the people who have left us reviews. We'll be getting a few of them together to read for maybe next show or show after. But I do want to say thank you. It means a lot to us to know.
Maybe we'll read them at the end of the show in place of the promo next week.
Yeah, maybe we will. Yeah, that's a good idea. But it does make our day when we get reviews.
As long as they're honest.
Well,
I don't care if they're 5 stars, as long as they're honest.
Yeah, they don't have to be 5-star. especially even when they say that we talk over each other.
Right. Check out our Patreon. We do have some tiers over there with some perks for guys and gals who subscribe. And one of which is being the t-shirts. Check out the t-shirts.
That Ashley better send us a picture of.
Yes, please, Ashley, send us a picture. Please stick around for a promo from, was it Just the Tipsters?
Yes, Just the Tipsters, Melissa. She is a literal riot, y'all.
So until next week, bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Hunter, say bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Hello, tipsters. This is Melissa Morgan. I'm the host of Just the Tipsters True Crime Podcast, because people are awful and they kill each other. Tipsters, this is Melissa Morgan, the host of Just the Tipsters True Crime Podcast. Have you ever wanted to kill anyone? Hey, tipsters. My name's Melissa Morgan, and I'm the host of Just the Tipsters True Crime Podcast, America's favorite true crime podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcast. I don't know where you can find us. How about that? Just find us and listen, and you'll really like it. Is that okay?
Just the Tipsters with Melissa Morgan is actually available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe, rate, review. You'll be glad you did.